The ancients knew, before our modern disconnection, that Eros is medicine. The Tantras whisper that desire is the pathway to liberation. And meanwhile, the Egyptian hymns praise Hathor as she who heals hearts with her embrace. Oh, welcome to our sacred circle, dear listener. And you might have heard about the witch's wound, but what if I told you it's not just something swirling around in the psyche of women, but it is very much affecting men today? So join us as we look into ancient wisdoms and forge a pathway for healing for men and women and all genders alike that is long overdue in this world. For the priestess, you see, is one who midwifed men into the rebirth of their wholeness.
Welcome to a new paradigm, a new way of being, free from shame, self-limitation, or cultural programming. Welcome to a new you, a new world, full of endless possibilities. Welcome to your Tantric awakening.
Welcome to the Tantric Awakening podcast. I'm Andre Knight.
And I'm Kendall.
And this week we're going to dive deep into the witch's wound and how it affects men, and how the ancient wisdom of the priestess can really offer pathways to healing. So welcome to our circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'd like to start, let's start by defining the witch's wound. For those that don't know, perhaps. How would you describe it?
Well, there's so many layers to it.
Mm.
Let's just start there. The witch's wound, I feel like, is brought up so much, especially in spiritual circles. And for me, the witch's wound really does come down to magic and the ability to understand that you are a magical being. It's a wound that I feel has been perpetuated very much over time, since the suppression of women's gifts, for example, and their connection to earth, their connection to herbology and herb medicine, midwifery even. I feel like the witch wound is very much related to the suppression of a lot of women and witches in general, beings that were just really connected to helping others. And inadvertently, the witch's wound continues to be perpetuated to this day, and it really shows up in the sacred sexuality space in a deep, profound way.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, in a broader sense, in the way that it's affecting people today that I've seen, it's really a fear of speaking up, that using your voice will get you punished. It keeps people small, kind of a fear of persecution. And also, I'm glad you touched on sacred sexuality, because beyond that, the subtle layer, what I've seen it manifest is like women really afraid to connect to their femininity and their raw sensuality. Either the fear is it'll get you judged, or it'll attract too much of the wrong kind of attention. So women suppress it and literally live disconnected from themselves. And it doesn't matter whether you identify with any kind of earth magic or anything like that. It's really like, I haven't met anybody it's not affecting to some degree, because it's literally this like fear of using your voice.
Yeah. Fear of using your voice, and then in essence, fear of reclaiming that and embracing it, for example, not only in yourself, but in other people. What does it mean to celebrate voices around me? Especially, for example, the voices that of people like ourselves that are very passionate about Eros, right? Even at the core, I think about the fear that drives this wound. It's a fear. It's a fear that I can think about, like witch hunts and how they literally would burn people at the stake, right? And how, regardless of what gender you claim to be under, the fear of watching something like that, or it developing fear in, for example, men, and then from that learning to fear or suppress the aspect of woman that is being crucified. I mean, it is very much it's really sad. It's really just sad to see this continue to play out, because I feel, reclaiming your voice, your womb power connected to your throat chakra, even being able to speak from the heart, speak authentically, is a really brave act of sovereignty in response to this witch wound. And it's a big part of why I'm here today, because I, years ago, decided to stand up for my Eros, my divine Eros. And I had really leaned into the agape love and what that meant for me, but I knew there was more. And so in that reclamation of Eros, I began the journey of remembrance into the being a priestess, like the call of the priestess path, which is really about the witch wound at its core.
And it led to you being ostracized from your family, from your church, from your community, for using your voice, for speaking up.
Yeah. Well, I became the voice that represents liberation from, right? When you are a liberator, if you liberated yourself from suppression in any way, it's a light, it's a reflection, right? It's a mirror for everyone else around you. And sometimes that mirror is not in resonance with people, even people that were really, really close to you at some point in your journey. So I feel it is an honor when you are aware of the witch wound, right? When it comes to your conscious awareness and you start doing the work of ancestral healing, looking at your soul's blueprint, looking at your karma in your blueprint, for example, in astrology, and being able to recognize, like, wow, you have the choice. You have the choice whether or not you're going to reclaim these wounds. And a big aspect of what I look at is various asteroids related to various witches. For example, I'll even look at Venus and Chiron and any of those covens in the sky that I like to call. So yeah, I feel honored to have not only guided myself, but witnessed that in other people. Heal that.
And you brought up men, so let's talk about this for a moment, because a lot of people, when you say witch, they assume you're talking about, women. But actually, a male witch is also called a witch.
Yeah.
Warlock is incorrect, actually. That's Latin, and it comes from Roman times. It means one who breaks contracts. It's a derogatory term.
Yeah.
Male witches are witches, just like female actors are actors. Yeah. It shows up in men it's pretty much the same way. It's a fear of speaking up, using your voice. It keeps some men small, maybe accepting their position and not striving for higher. But where it specifically shows up in Eros and in relationships with women or with, whichever gender you're attracted to. But there was, of course, this kind of macho bravado masculinity from the 60s and 70s and 80s that really created a backlash, because it was often inappropriate. But what grew out of that is like this belief, particularly around more conscious men, that if you show your desire for somebody, if you let a little bit of your Eros, your Kundalini rise in your spine, you're transgressing. So there's a whole generation of men that have just shut this down. And now, like, women are screaming because they're missing that polarity, they're missing that desire. So it's like it's cut off in energy, So that's one way it's shown up. The other way it's shown up is like an inversion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the man is really craving an oracle, but he settles for a brothel, or he settles for watching porn at home. The quick dopamine fix, the quick satisfaction, knowing that there's something more tugging at the periphery, but not quite knowing what it is,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yes.
So that's how I've seen it manifest. How have you seen it show up
Hmm.
with the masculine?
Yeah. I mean, the masculine is an energy, right? It's within us.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it very much exercised and seen in the world by the lack of initiation.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like at the core of the witch wound is the lack of support and true,
That's it.
authentic humanity and empathy in that. Because Eros is the energy from which we're all here, right? We're born from it. We're created from it. It is life force. It's pure energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I've seen the witch wound. I didn't even know what it was called, right? Even when I was a Christian in the evangelical spaces amongst a bunch of men, like the one thing that I did notice a lot was just the lack of confidence and ability to exercise your will. Because when I was in that religious space, I would always give up my will for hearing the voice of God or leaning into the voice of my pastors. And that easily became manipulatable over time around my sacred sexuality. And I think that's what has hooked so many people in, especially in light of, for example, the purity culture movement, where it was in response to the AIDS movement. It was a response in a fear-based propaganda that essentially led to so many men and women declaring abstinence, avoidance of their eros in order to appear holy before God and even likely their parents, because at the time that's when like purity rings was initiated and is still a thing to this day. So yeah, I mean, the witch wound is honestly everywhere where there's energy of suppression and lack of initiation. That's where the witch's wound is. Because also if there's a group of people, for example, that are trying to suppress your sexuality, it's because there is a fear around the feminine. The feminine has not
That's
been
it.
integrated into that person's world view because likely it hasn't been revealed as integrated, right? There's been more of a masculinized culture. I mean, this is so nuanced and so layered, but it really comes down to as well, like even like gender, not even gender roles, but kind of, yeah, like how, for example, women are perceived inside society than men, or just even how, you know, there's gaps between all of us humans. And I find that it's related to this very thing of, you know, can we as a society come together with the divine feminine and the divine masculine in conversation, but also within yourself. And I think at the core of the witch wound, it is really, and because I've held men in their vulnerability around facing these wounds, it's really being able to get raw with yourself. You know, the witch wound doesn't have to be super dramatic and in the sense of healing it. It can be as subtle and small and sacred as literally just holding the space for acknowledging someone's humanity. Like acknowledging, for example, a young man's eros, his energy in his body, and just validating that in that it's a beautiful energy, right? And that's the energy that you get to create with, right? So that's, I feel, what is in essence why the witch wound was developed. Why, right? Because the priestesses weren't present, and why now more than ever, as a high priestess, it's important that if you feel the call to this lineage, the lineage of the priestess, that you recognize that it is to be part of holding sacred temple space for the vulnerability of this very wound, which is active in society right now.
Well, this is often where it stems from,
Mm-hmm.
you see, because it's not presented as a beautiful thing. It's not presented as energy. It's presented as something to be ashamed of, right? So when your natural desire, which is present in everybody, is shamed and suppressed, it doesn't go away. You still feel it. But what it creates is a division from yourself,
Right.
you see, and that disconnection. You're very right that sensuality in men and women, all genders, is kind of the feminine energy. It's the yin.
Yeah.
It's the yin energy. So this is exactly what led to the persecution of women over time, is men disconnected from that. So they started seeing it as foreign and fearful when it manifested in others.
Yeah.
And it became this self-perpetuating cycle through the generations.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're called to Eros, for example, and you're called to awaken that and remember that, it will invite you to rebirth yourself. And here's what I wanted to mention around Eros, right? To even give some context to why I believe Eros in the lens of life force and the lens of a form of love, right, is so important, especially in light of the dance between the psyche and Eros, right? Eros is about death and rebirth. It's about transformation at its core, okay? And we've talked about this a lot. It's a core foundation of who I am. It's my Scorpio moon talking, but like Eros is here to help you grow. Like the energy of that potency is here for us. I mean, I think about even moments of death when you've lost a loved one, right? Or a baby's born, or you got married, or something shifted in your life. Eros, I believe, is in motion. And so why I'm bringing this full circle is that like Eros truly is more than just sacred sexuality. And I think that's what is really important for people to know, is that yes to sacred sexuality, yes to your pleasure, but it's more about who you get to ascend into and grow into and evolve. And this has been a huge key point for me lately, is this word evolve, because if you're not evolving with the energy of Eros, like your body is not conducting energy. And if I want you to consider this, consider yourself as like a magnet. You are like an antenna, a magnet antenna, and you are the generator, the host of energy, right? Eros, when you feed that energy, whether you're honoring an initiation or a death rebirth portal, for example, like a full moon or a new moon or your birthday, your solar return, like when you honor these cycles, you're actually creating more space for that life force energy to move through you, right? When you work with the energies that are beyond just the mundane, like that's where transformation can happen. And yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, does that make sense?
I want to read you something from an ancient tantric text. In every touch of skin, in every kiss, in every embrace, see the infinite. In this way, the body becomes the temple, and the desire the very doorway to liberation. That speaks directly into what you were just talking about. You see, the ancients were well aware of this. They knew that this was not something to be ashamed, but it was the pathway to liberation. We kind of touched on it in our prior episode. The modern word taboo comes from a word from the Tonga language in Fiji, that part of the world. Tapu is how it was originally pronounced. And it didn't originally mean something bad or sinful. It meant something so sacred that it should be treated with reverence and respect.
Yeah.
That's the original meaning of taboo.
Yeah.
Something so sacred it should be treated with reverence.
And what I would like to describe even deeper what that means in light of, for example, the inner witch, is that the inner witch truly is your intuition.
That's it.
It's your sensuality, it's your creativity, and it's your vulnerability, right? And if that is suppressed, if any of those aspects of you are suppressed, that's the inner witch essentially being suppressed. Because what happens when you're connected to your intuition? If you're connected to your intuition, you're not susceptible to other people trying to manipulate you. You are trusting yourself. Your gut instinct is strong, right? You're not going to be easily swayed into ideologies or anything that doesn't feel in resonance with you, right? For example, even like sensuality, right? I mean, I can think about the witch queen when my sensuality was suppressed. And I even had a hard time just like self-pleasuring myself because I felt like I was, on the edge of like doing something wrong. But nonetheless, it led to my awakening. But sensuality is absolutely necessary. Like for the men that are listening, even you connecting to your body as a temple, right? The more you can really show up to your own temple, your body, loving it, getting to know it. I always even encourage as a priestess for men to like be conscious, be aware, move energy in their body through self-pleasure practices, right?
Absolutely.
And I think when you can become aware of being the conductor of your own energy field, you can go into higher levels of magic and like sex magic, for example. But nonetheless, like I encourage men, like connect to your body, stand in front of a mirror, look at your body. What do you see? Acknowledge it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, or, and it's something even for me as a woman, I continually need to bring that up to myself all the time and just looking at my body because my body's always changing in some way, right? So creativity, right? If we're suppressing our creativity, then we're probably in consumption mode. And how much of society has become consume. It's like, how much of your time have you been on Instagram doom scrolling rather than maybe just putting it aside and deciding to maybe write for the first time after a hiatus, right? And it's interesting because of the technological age we're in. We have so much information at our hands and like AI and all these support systems. But I just want to encourage like anyone here, especially I think men that are really, can be drawn. I mean, I can say this as a woman too, but like drawn to the beauty of access of information. I feel like the inner witch in me is like to encourage all of you, don't discount the voice of you. Don't put aside the instinct of going to yourself first. I think when you start to lean into that, your creative voice, like even for me, like the dance studio is very much a blank canvas. Oftentimes when I go by myself, I don't even know what I'm going to do, but it's a canvas and I allow my creative energy to manifest itself in whatever way it moves through. And so, lastly, the vulnerability, the inner witch, like vulnerability is very much suppressed for so many, and including so many men, right? I can think about how many men even perhaps are listening right now that have, feeling fear around being seen for how they've even experienced Eros in their life, even how they've even been indoctrinated by, for example, people, places, things, institutions, religions that have taught them about sacred sexuality, right? And I just want to speak to that man who's maybe like feeling shame around their Eros, or maybe you're in religion, or you're coming out of a religion, or you've been out of religion for a while and you're like, what do I even do with it? Like, do this energy? Like, my encouragement for you is to be seen and to seek out a priestess, someone that is really here to help you see your soul. Like at the core of the priestess path, at the core of, I feel like this wound is the fear of vulnerability. And when the thing about how this work, how I've been led into astrology to help men specifically, I've seen these men break down in tears, recognizing that they're here with divine purpose and their soul is here to learn and grow and go through these initiations. For example, I had a man that I was supporting in a call this like a week and a half ago, and he started crying after the reading, like throughout the reading, but like mainly at the end. And when I validated his Saturn return, which is a huge initiation, it's into adulthood for all of us humans, like I could feel the weight of himself, like the barriers of entry, his walls were just starting to slowly just dissolve. And it made me realize it's like this is what is here to heal the witch wound for all of us, but a lot of men right now. It's in the presence of a very, dedicated witch.
Yeah.
That you can heal heal from the divine, the suppression of the divine feminine, because there's the ache. I think a lot of men feel that ache, sadness, quite frankly, not knowing that there's more to sacred sexuality. And I think there's a turning point, and I believe that there's a turning point for so many men to honor the divine feminine and be the change
externally and within themselves.
Yeah.
If this is resonating for you, please, you guys, check the description below. All right, there's a link there that'll allow you to join our mailing list so you can hear more about topics like this. There's also links to get in touch with both Kendall and myself. If you have questions after today's episode, please feel free to reach out. And of course, if you want more content like this, please be sure to like the video. That really helps us a lot. Share it with a friend or two if you feel it would be helpful for them. And please subscribe for more. It's all down below for you. I want to touch on that a little more too, because you spoke into self-pleasure, Kendall. For men, self-pleasure isn't really an exploration. It's not something most men take time with or for. It's something you do really quick, in a hurry. Usually alone in the dark. Hope you don't get caught. A lot of men, when their partner asks them to self-pleasure for them, and I don't like the word masturbate because that in Latin actually means to defile by hand. I like the word self-pleasure, honoring yourself. But like, that's awkward for a lot of men the first time they try it, because we're just taught that your desire, your pleasure is a shameful thing to be kept in the dark and by yourself. So for many men, that's a foreign concept, just to stand, look at yourself in the mirror, caress, other parts of your body besides your genitals and see how they feel, get reacquainted, and, even with your lingam, with your penis, holding it in your hand and just appreciating this rod of pulsing energy, in your hands, the energy that it's capable of generating, like that's foreign to a lot of men, and a lot of men really they need to be guided through that. Frankly, but it's like, where do you turn? Where do you go for help?
Yeah, we're in the right place. I would say it's why it's so difficult is because the feminine is receiving. It's receiving like the yoni, right?
Receiving pleasure.
So I believe that when men especially, I mean anyone, even for me, like turning off my masculine, let's go, to receive, it's a total different shift of energy. And I feel like even in the intimacy of connecting together, for example, like when you, for example, lean into receiving, it's really profound to witness. It's a very profound, and not only just profound,
thank
but
you. Likewise.
we've been fortunate enough to be in the company of others in their pleasure, right? And what I've noticed is very much that the beauty that is found when someone does feel safe enough to trust and drop into them enjoying themselves. Like, that is our birthright.
Well, this is it. When you let go and you surrender to pleasure, you release layers of what you've been holding on to.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah.
why you have all those, I mean, at least for me, there's like a variety of sounds that can come out during pleasure, right? Like, and it can be anything from crying to laughing to wailing. It can be no noise. Like, that I truly is why I believe Eros is so powerful. Eros is like a very, when experienced with love and intention, when you are creating space for Eros to transform you, it really has the power to transform and cleanse you. Like the power of powerful, intimate moments, whether regardless if they're with yourself or with another, can really shift things. I mean, I've had moments of solo pleasure time where I literally, by the end of the experience, I feel like I let go of years of just trauma or just energy stuck in my body. Right?
That's it. Yep.
And I don't know, I'm not always conscious of what I'm letting go of, but I know that my body is very intelligent and knows what it needs when it needs it. And that's what has helped me embrace my inner witch, my inner alchemy, my inner priestess, because I recognize, like, when you know yourself, there's so much strength in that. And yeah, it's beautiful, and it's okay for all of us as humans to embrace not only, right, that we're spiritual, but that we're erotic. Both and, right? Like you get to be both. You get to explore all of your sides and the nuances to it. You can embrace your inner child and the nuance of that and the depth of that. And you can love Eros to its core and love having beautifully erotically charged sacred sexual experiences with yourself, with your lover, with your lovers and groups. Like, it's all for you. And how I see this, and I think about the declaration of the witch wound, it's like, you're here for a reason. We're all here, and none of us know how many days we're going to be here, right? So why not just take the chance on yourself to explore the magic of you? The more that is, maybe you're just like, oh, I'm kind of like, I think there's more to just like sex, right? Just like an orgasm. And it's like, absolutely. There's so much more, because in the end, I feel like Eros itself, and this is why I'm so passionate about our retreats and which we're building, is because in the end, it's about what is the mask? What are the masks that you need to take off so that you can become the more authentic version of yourself? And it's wild, because of healing so much of this witch wound, I recognize the core part of healing that witch wound is authenticity. Like, how real are you willing to be with your voice, with your words, with the way you walk, with the way you talk, with the way you just live in this world, right?
Well, that's just it. Eros has a way of taking over. So in a way of like letting go and surrendering to pleasure You
Mm.
let go of that control that has kept you rigid throughout life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there are there are people who fake orgasms, and then there are the orgasms that you cannot fake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it is a death and rebirth. That's why the French refer to it as _le petit mort, the little
Yeah.
death, right? Because in that moment there is no mind,
Yeah.
there is no thought.
Yeah. Absolutely. And not only that, like so much of the yearning that I think a lot of people feel around their Eros, it strengthens. I find that when you're on the precipice of awakening, things get stronger, intense, really, in your journey. And
That they
I
do.
find that if you've been suppressing, and this happened for me, like I suppressed it so hard that it became like a volcanic eruption, and naturally it flowed right into my Saturn return. But I had to, as a woman, reclaim this part of myself that not only had I exiled, but that my ancestors had, and that I had seen and noticed and felt in my own family line. And so this is so much more than myself, so much more than you. I know for me, when I recognize my witch wound as like, oh, it could cost me something, I recognize that this was worth leaning into, right? Because it's so easy to label, like the word witch can have a negative connotation in society, right? Or could be very much in synergy with like sinner, right? And here's the thing that I wish I could speak out to just even Christians, right? Like my former homies, because I was one of them. Like, the thought is, instead of just labeling someone as something like a sinner or too much, become curious and stop just like labeling such a person. And why I'm bringing this up is I'm thinking of this example from this past week. There was a video that this Christian guy was basically unpacking Lady Gaga's recent music video, Dance of the Dead or something. And it's basically a reflection of just the reality of our mortality. Like, we're all going to die. And just like her inviting all of us to be like, dance and enjoy life. But literally this one male Christian, everyone in the comments was tagging along with it, was like just the demonic and just like attaching everything they wanted to this woman because she was surrounded by skulls and dolls. And it was interesting to watch and witness myself, because I was like, wow, that's what I would have done. I would have probably said the same thing of like, and now it's like I look at these things and I'm like, this is just part of the human experience. Like Eros itself will confront you with the reality of mortality, will allow you to actually embrace it and actually recognize like, okay, I get this anthem, like dance until you're dead. Yeah, me too. Like, and yeah, it's just, again, it comes down to the fear. It's easy to judge or cast, a label onto someone, instead of perhaps asking yourself, like becoming curious of like, why did this artist create this piece of work? And that once you make that shift, I feel like it's the same energy of making the shift of, I think there's more to sex than sex. It's the same energy, because you recognize, yeah, there is much more to like Eros than sex even. It's about ritual. It's about
Initiation.
intimacy. It's about how vulnerable can you get. Like, I know you and I love it. It's like very healing, and it's very sacred for us to, not only when we're crying and I'm crying in front of you or our friends or any of that, but when men break down in sessions with me, it's because their heart is opening, and that is key to healing the witch wound. And this is what I feel like the high priestesses and what witches were trying to represent is like holding space for such like raw humanity, being like, hey, your sexual energy is not bad. Hey, your desires, your fantasies are not bad, right? Like Eros and psyche, that part of your psyche that has these fantasies, like, okay, let's have a conversation about them, right? And until we have those safe conversations, the witch wound will continue to be perpetuated in society, right? You know, I can think about, I mean, what is one of my fantasies that I was like afraid of? I mean, it's wild. I remember when we started going together to like temple experiences where like people were publicly making love to each other. I was like, like it was a huge deal, right? And I think about it now, I'm like, it's second nature. It's like, whoa, that's just the human experience. And that honestly has helped me heal.
We're born naked. What's wrong with taking your clothes off and going in the jacuzzi?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it comes down to, again, generations after generations separating themselves from their own eros, their own intuition, their own creativity.
That's it.
And I believe people are waking up of realizing they don't want to outsource even their creativity. I mean, even with the AI, even for myself, I'm like, man, this is a great tool. However, like at my core, I just want to know my voice, who I am at the core. Who am I? Because if I'm rooted in that, like it's only going to get stronger. Right. And I mean, I'm 32 right now and I'm thinking about like, what would I be like in 10 more years when I'm just continually investing into my own eros, my own sensuality. Like it's pretty strong right now, but a year, 2 year, 5 years from now, I'm like, whew, I'm excited for what's to come, right? Who am I going to become? So it's like, in the end, it's only yourself, right? It's only you who can reclaim that. And it's necessary. And I feel really drawn for this, for the men, especially around the witch wound. I feel like a lot of women get this. It's more talked about in circles around women, but like, I believe in a new wave of men that are eager to heal these wounds, right? So that they can actually no longer be in exile, but like be safe spaces for women. Be safe spaces for women to explore their sensuality, explore their sexuality, you know, dare I say, be a temple keeper and just be there and hold the energy, right? And that takes a very strong person, a person who has done the inner work to be like, no, this is a call. Like I'm here to protect, you know. And I truly, truly believe that we have to alchemize that fear into courage to do something different, right? You could be in your fear all the time. You could be in fear of the feminine. You can be in the fear of your partner's sacred sexuality, but how far is that going to get you? It's not going to get you very far. If anything, that relationship will probably dissolve in some way, because here's the thing, the divine feminine is here, like is a reawakening in so many people right now.
Well, as men reconnect with their own sensuality in a place of receiving pleasure and surrender and without shame, they're going to inevitably reconnect with their feminine energy, which is going to help them rise and better understand the feminine and, like you said, rise to be the protectors of the feminine and the temple keepers of tomorrow.
Yes.
It's first they reconnect with the feminine within themselves, and now this whole relationship starts to shift.
Yeah.
And you see, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I want to touch on that. You know, let's talk a little bit about temple etiquette and how you treat a priestess, or how you behave when you're in the presence of a priestess. You know, because it's good to dispel some myths. Okay. A priestess is not a prostitute. This isn't like some massage parlor with a happy ending at the end, right? This is sacred healing work. You know, somatic body work is recognized the world over as a legitimate healing modality. Here in California, sexological body work has been recently legalized.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people need to be guided through sensation, but this isn't the only part of your body where you feel sensation, right? There are forms, ASMR, simply audio stimulation, for therapeutic and psychotherapeutic effect. You don't even have to touch the person. Reiki is a legitimate form of energy work. It starts with modalities that are not touch. There are modalities, sometimes you have to just train people to feel the hairs on their arm again.
Mm-hmm.
We've become so
Resensitize.
desensitized as a society, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of myths swirling around anytime
Mm.
therapeutic touch is involved, right?
Mm.
And the thing is, men, if you request these services just hoping for a date, I mean, you can speak into this. A priestess smells you a mile away. These are beings that are very energetically attuned. They feel intention, so come with a sincere and open heart, first and foremost,
Mm.
But I mean, as a priestess, maybe you can speak a little bit into the etiquette and how you prefer to be approached and not approached.
Yeah. Like any interaction, I mean, my standard is very high. I very much call in respect and respectful communication and reverence. I see the divine I can see the divine in all beings, right? And I know my boundaries and that I know how I like to be talked to and how I don't like to be talked to, right? I think being respectful, being thorough. I've noticed this. One of the biggest things I love is being specific about a request. For example, if someone wants an astrology reading, they being open about the request. And I really love, specifically for me, I'm speaking for myself, but I really love full complete sentences. I love grammar. I love all that. So
Well, you're an author, of course.
Yeah, well, it's just little things like that for me. It shows me that the person really cares about structure and organization and taking the time for flow, right? But yeah, I guess in light of temple, I mean, there's so much to that because I really have a strong code of ethics personally. But like in being approached, I would say, yeah, like I was mentioning a moment ago, just being very clear and respectful and expressing why you were wanting to connect, for example, in an astrology reading, why you're wanting to go through one of my full comprehensive initiations, which is it's a solar return and the cosmic year, right? I would just reach out and be honest about I desire to lean into temple and mystery school with you. And this is where I'm at right now. And this is what I want to grow into.
That's it.
Simple. And I'll easily, if you go on my Instagram at the Tantric Mystic _, you just literally can go to the link in my bio, schedule an appointment. And from there, we can gather the information. I look at your soul's blueprint and be able to give you guidance on how to navigate your journey. Because a lot of people, when people come to me, they're already interested in Eros and sacred sexuality. I just guide them a little bit I guide them a lot into where they're at now and what they need to focus on. So I can look at somebody's soul and see if they're wanting to lean into the mystery school, our training, right? And get more into the world of erotic transformation, right? It's about knowing where they are. And I always love to look at somebody's chart. That's like my first personal step. If someone wants to enter into the mystery school and perhaps go into retreats, I really encourage that.
Well, the deeper immersion, and also if you're a priestess drawn to this path, seeking training, maybe you have some skills already, maybe you're seeking to learn or develop your skills further, like it really helps to know what kind of priestess you are. And I know that's something you really specialize in helping people identify as well.
Yeah, I mean, I look at anything from Venus and her coven of astrology goddesses. I look at the witches. asteroids, I look at the full person and I look at what their year's focus is. I can look at what their progressions are and what their inner feminine is really focusing on for the year, the 2.5 year increments. And it's just really helpful because with that information, every reading I've had thus far is so accurate to the point of tears. So I feel like I'm really hitting the nail on the head when I hold temple for people, because it is temple for me. But yeah, it's helping you understand you. Because when you know yourself and authentically, and it's confirmed by the stars, you're able to understand Eros deeper, I believe. For example, like I started sharing some of a fellow priestess's chart and gave her some insight about herself and read about the Magdalene asteroid. She's like, what? So I've been called to the lineage of Mary Magdalene, and it's in this relationship category. I'm like, absolutely. So what does that mean for you? What is that confirming in you? Right? So that's where I'm like, I'm helping be the language of the stars and encouraging people along the way. But yeah, I love it. I mean, at the core, that's one aspect of our mystery school, but being respectful. I mean, like I was mentioning earlier, just being clear and knowing like I have a protector over here, like you, and you're always very supportive in trusting me in my communication.
Well, being raw, being authentic, you may not even completely know what you're looking for or what you're looking to heal. Then be honest in that. I'm not sure, but some of what you said resonated for me, particularly this part. That's a great place to start a conversation.
Yeah.
It just be real, be authentic, come as you are.
I do all the upfront in my astrology readings. At least I do a lot of upfront work. Once I get your birthday, your birth time, and your city of birth, I can see a lot of information. I gather all of that before our time together, and you literally just need to show up and receive. It is a temple. It is me as a high priestess speaking into what I'm seeing. I even speak into the numerology year for you. Like I help unpack so many layers. And with that information, I also provide rituals as well for you to lean into so that you are activating your chart through conscious awareness, right? When you're aware of your connection, the way you connect to your divine feminine, when you're aware of how you take action in this life, when you're aware of these things, it helps validate your experience, or it helps you pivot. Right. And how many of us have maybe been in a position where we're like, oh my gosh, why is the season so intense? Well, probably something squaring your Saturn. You're going through a really intense transit right now. That's helpful information because you also know there's an end date. And people like to know that. I know for me, I like to know that. I mean, I had my first Saturn return at 32. I'll have it, I don't even know, I think it's I don't know what exact year. But when I have my second Saturn return, I'll know. And so
you know what you're going through.
Yeah.
There's lessons to learn. It's a heads up. It's a study of cycles, and I like what you said. There's an end date.
Yeah.
You can time your pivots. You can.
And that's the thing about astrology as well. I can even look at various asteroids that help me see like how you're going to make a lot of your fortune. How you're able to
which skills.
Yeah.
Right? Through which skills and talents.
What is your soul's wanting to evolve in this lifetime? In what area? When you know that, like it could help really determine some decisions you need to make about like what career you want to do, if you want to move, you want to have kids, like there's a few charts that I've seen recently. I'm like, ooh, like this is a heavy family chart. Like this person very much here to heal ancestral lineages and perhaps have children or care for them. Like there's so much information I could see at a chart. I'm like, oh, this soul is profound. Like, yeah. So,
and you really need that deeper awareness and certainly a connection also between practitioner and seeker before you can get into any of the deeper somatic work. Like this is really the foundation. This is kind of where it begins.
Well, it's like if I can know you deeper, right? If someone's coming to me and they have deeper questions, I can give them the information, but it's helping me see that. Like for me, a soul chart, someone's birth chart is their soul. It's the most intimate part of somebody. And I can say this from my own experience. Before astrology, I mean, I knew myself, right? I did. And I was already in the priestess path. But when I remembered astrology and I was taught like, oh my gosh, like sun signs, like I didn't know any of that. I was like,
Well,
what? When I understood, like learned about myself, it broke me down. I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay. And then I was able to love myself. I was like, okay, this just is who I am, right?
well, the Egyptian temples, the ancient temples were all aligned with the stars. Most temples all over the world were aligned with the stars. So it would make sense that the priesthood and the priestesses who, worshipped and worked in those temples had a very cosmological awareness. The two have gone hand in hand throughout the millennia.
Yeah. Everything's intentional. Where you live, everything has intention. Even the reason why the astrology was so prevalent amongst the Egyptian temple priestesses, like it was, every time I think about it, it's just so second nature. Like it was part of being a priestess. You're aware. Like even the time, like now I'm aware of the full moon and the lunar eclipse we just had, right? And just the profound nature of that and the profound nature of like what that actually means. And helping, here's the thing too, is like once you lean into these mysteries and I can unpack your witch wound, for example, in a chart, it helps you just take forward action, take action in the direction where you feel self-empowered. It's like agency. It's really, really powerful. And I like looking at like Hecate in somebody's chart. I'll look at Lilith, for example, dark feminine. I'll look at various goddesses for the witch or the witch wound, and mainly look at Chiron for somebody's major wound that they're here to heal in this life. So,
and that's where you can get insight to where it formed, why it formed, and how to start to go about healing it. Because this isn't. This isn't just for those that want to really dive deep into magic or the occult. This is for anybody that wants to operate at a higher level. Maybe you've got this intuitive feeling something's been holding you back. You're not quite sure what it is. This is a way to that's why we call it shadow work. You bring something that's unseen into the light so you can be aware of it. Once you're aware of it, you can start healing it. And you spoke also about ritual and initiation. I think this is a big part of it. Like your sessions, they're not just readings. They're really rituals and initiations. And that's something that's been missing from our culture. We've talked about it before. It's prevalent in a lot of indigenous cultures, but it's been missing for everybody, all genders, really. But for men in particular, this kind of like being initiated, being anointed into something new, but then also being witnessed in it. Being witnessed in that transition, in that becoming, is a very, very powerful and potent ritual that's really been missing.
Yeah.
And that's why we have an epidemic of boys who don't know how to be men.
Yep.
Or men who do not know how to deal with their own, let alone their partners or their children's emotions or problems.
Yeah.
It's really an epidemic. I remember I heard on NPR a statistic that close to 50% of men have thought about suicide within the past 2 weeks. Close to 50% of the male population within the past 2 weeks. If you take it back a month, that percentage starts to rise higher.
Yeah.
And that's because as men, we're taught not to feel things. It makes you weak. It makes you even weaker if you share your emotions with others, let alone ask for help and reach out. So we tend to close off. We tend to try to deal with our traumas and our problems all by ourselves. And not reach out for help, not ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time to be courageous. Be courageous. I know for me too, it's like I'm so water-based personally. And so when I hold space for men, it's just like when they become vulnerable or authentic in that, like it's just really healing for me. It's healing for women to bear witness to that, you know, because a lot of men, fathers out there weren't that vulnerable with their daughters or children in general, or try to put on a front, but it's really important to be that raw, authentic version of yourself in all aspects, and everyone's worth it. You're worth it, and all the things. But yeah,
It's really a way to, if I had to sum up, like when you get guidance, when you work with a priestess, it's about really teaching you how to drop performance
mm-hmm.
and just bring your presence.
Mm-hmm.
Your awareness of what's happening outside of you, your awareness of what's happening within you. And this is so, so valuable for learning how to interact with the world, how to show up in the world.
Know thyself, and you can take action with more courage, and not even just courage, but more confidence. Yeah. And that's exciting when you're aware and you're conscious of yourself. You can take action that empowers you further on to the vision of, if you know, for example, if your north node is in Scorpio in a certain house, right? You're going to focus your energy in that area, right? You're going to focus your energy in that area, right? If you know that Mercury, the planet of communication, the way you connect with people, is in a certain sign, you're going to operate differently, and you're going to know how to operate differently. And that's why people have always consulted astrologers over time, because they want to know how to work with their own energy bodies. They want to know how their soul is trying to connect with them. So many people are so in their ego consciousness that they have not even connected, have any idea what their soul is
Versus
trying to express to them.
in ancient times, the kings consulted the oracle.
Yeah.
The wise kings.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, if you want to reach out and consult an oracle, you can reach Kendall at the Tantric Mystic _ on Instagram. And you can find me at Andre Knight Awakening. Yeah. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. We hope you found it useful. Please share it with a friend. Please click the like and subscribe button down below.
Yeah.
And you can reach out and find us also at www.tantricawakening.net. And, my invocation as we close the circle to the masculine, may you be seen, may you be healed, and may you be welcomed back into the arms of the Great Mother.
Yeah.
Till next time, you guys.
Bye. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.